Hello everyone, Nadlabs here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be showing the limits of Godot. So let's get right into it. As you can see, I've just started off by making a Node2D and attaching a script to it. And judging by the title of this video, you probably know what I'm going to be pushing Godot to the limits for. And that is arrays. And I'm going to be pushing the array to the limit because recently I've been working on a project that required a lot of arrays, and I was just wondering how many pieces of information the array could hold. And I'm going to be going over briefly what this code really means, and you can see that right off the bat we have three variables. The first one is file, which is going to be equal to file.new. Nothing special, right? File is a class in a Godot game engine and it just stores data. The next variable we have is the path, which is just going to be a string called user : / and then this part can be anything you want, and .dat, like data, is just an extension that Godot works well with. I haven't tried anything else, but hey, I don't need to try anything else if this is working. Then we have our famous thick R, which is going to be an empty array for now. Then in the ready function, we're just going to set randomize because I am using a random function here. And we're going to say for I in 10. And 10 is actually how many objects there are going to be in the array. And if you don't know how loops work, I'm just going to go over it really briefly. For I, which is just 0 in this case, in 10, it's going to go to thick R, which is an empty array, and append. And append, if you see over here in the documentation, it says, I can't zoom in, sorry, but it says appends an element to the end of the array. Alias of, or other words of pushback, it just means adds an element to the end of the array. You can see I'm thick R dot add a random number at the end. So if we actually print out I, we can see that it goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that is because it stops at 10, or it doesn't go to 10 because when it hits 10, it says it's equal to, and it just stops looping. So how are we going to push Godot to the limit? We're actually going to be changing this number by making it much more bigger. But I will be actually disclosing how big it can go. So that was the loop and how we add values to the array when we're going over the loop. But over here we have a file.open, file.store variable, and file.close. File.open just means that we're going to be opening this file over here into file.open just means that we're going to be opening up this array temp.dat. And I'm just going to be using file.write because I'm just going to be writing to the file. I'm not going to be reading anything from it. Then we're going to do file.storeVar at the ready function again. Just at the beginning of the frame, this is all going to happen. So file.storeVar, we're just going to say that we're going to be storing this entire array, however big it is. We're just going to put it inside this array.temp.dat, and that's it. And I'm going to close the file. And then, of course, we're going to print it just so we can see it. And you can see that when I click it, it takes it takes a couple seconds, and we get 100 items. And if you excuse me for 1 second, and you can see we actually get the file over here. And if I just right click and go to my properties, you can see that it's about 1008 bytes. If I increase it, you can see that Godot took a lot longer, and it's a much bigger array because before we weren't getting this much. It was stopping around here-ish. And now if I go over here to my, if I go over here, you can see it says 10 kilobytes. If I go to my properties, I have to refresh the properties, I'm guessing. So right click properties, and you can see it now it's around around 10,000 bytes. Size on disk, just there's a difference. We're going to be looking at size because we're looking for the size of this file, but you can definitely look at size on disk as well. We're just going to be looking at size because that's the size of the file. And you can see as soon as I bring this up to, let's say, yeah, we're going to go incrementally so I show you that, look, it's taking a lot more time, and that might be because I have an older computer, but hey, you can see that now we have a lot longer list of numbers, and this is actually going to go on for quite some time before I actually get to see my random 32-bit integers. And I'm actually going to take out print I because I don't need that anymore. And if I go over here to my array.temp, you can see that instead of going from around 10,000 kilobytes, now we're at around 100,000 bytes, which is quite big. I mean, I think that's bigger than the first few games that were ever made. And if I take it one more, I open up my RAM on the side as well, you can see that nothing happened. Still printing out just as expected. That's the older one. Let's just go over here. You can see it's approaching 1 megabyte, and over here it is actually about almost 1 megabyte if you round it up. We're going to do this, and I'm just going to close Chrome for a second because if you don't know, Chrome actually eats up a lot of RAM, and yeah, that dropped. And you can see, I think it's when you can see that my RAM starts to climb, but it doesn't really matter because you can see that my RAM sort of started to climb, and you can see it's about 10 megabytes now, and I think this is where when I was experimenting before the video, this is where the problem happens, and you can see it starts to climb. I'm getting a not responding error just by hovering over Godot. And before, I did this before when I was not recording, and it was able to go, okay, so I was actually able to make that. So yeah, I think this is the one where it actually stopped and said, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. So I'm just going to make a copy of that because, and this is just another example for Godot, just another learning opportunity. You can see that if I do space copy .dat, it doesn't really make a difference because Godot will still be trying to edit this one because we specifically said edit this one. And if it's not there, create it. And that's what file.write actually does. If it's not there, it'll also create it. And I think, just want to get my numbers correct, after about 100 million, Godot actually says, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. And you can see that my RAM will start to climb. I'm using 8 GB DDR2 RAM, and I know it's a little bit old, but still, I'm just trying to show that Godot can also be used for older computers, and it actually helps me when designing mobile games because mobile games don't have the best RAM. And I'm trying to, oh, you can see that RAM spike over there. I think that's, I don't know what that is, but it actually correlates with a spike over here. If you see over here, it actually correlates with a spike in the CPU and the disk. I think that's just Godot saying that, nope, I'm not doing this. And it actually, it's an error, and it shuts down. Yep, shuts down. Right, you can see if I close the program. And of course, we're back after that crash, and you can see that the one that we were trying to print to actually didn't get affected, which is kind of interesting considering it was being written to. You can see they're about the same sizes, right? So you're probably wondering what previous attempts is because there's a file here that was not created by Godot, it was created by me. And it just shows the previous attempts of when I was using this line rather than this one because I actually wanted to see what would happen if I just put random ones in. And you can see that the size is considerably different, right? 78 KB to 97 KB, and that's just because we're putting in 32-bit integers here, but we're just putting in 1. And I don't know how many bytes this is, but this is just, I don't want to say it's 1 byte, but I know integers take up a bit of bytes. For example, in Java, they take up to 2 or 4, depending on how long they are. These are the sizes, and you can see that when we use the smallest one, like rtemp1, that just means that I put the array, I made an array, and I put the number 1 in there. And then I did it for 10, right? And you can see that they're actually really small, like 92 bytes, 812 bytes. You can see also when you go a little bit bigger. I'm just going to like show you guys. You can pause them. You can see that they're actually like, they're getting substantially bigger through that. And because I am a math person or math oriented person, I was like, I'm going to graph this. And when I graphed it, I figured out that if I went to, right, so this is where we had the error. After this one, there was an error. So if I went to around, let's see, that's 1,000, a million. That's 100 million, that's a billion. At about a billion, we would get around a 500 megabyte file, and I do not think Godot is capable of doing that. I do not think Godot is actually capable of printing out or making a 500 megabyte file, but that was just my exploration, right? It wasn't a tutorial, it was kind of boring, honestly. If you were interested into this stuff, let me know if I should do other experiments, or maybe you guys could upload your own experiments and just show me them. I would love to see that. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Sorry if it's a bit long. This is just one of my first experimentation videos, and I just really don't know what to explain other than that I push Godot to the limits by slowly incrementing it, just like a scientist, you know, slowly pushing things to the limit, and then just seeing where things break and going back a step and seeing, oh, what happens if I do this or that. And anyway, that's the end of my video. Sorry for that little rant at the end, but whatever. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.